There's a woman named Jennifer Axelberg from Minnesota, and she was staying with her husband at a rural cabin in Kennebec County, Minnesota, when, of course, they had gotten into a little bit of a domestic altercation. There was alcohol involved, and that actually plays a really important factor in the story. So basically, when they started to argue and get into a domestic dispute, things got violent, and she actually, Jennifer, went to escape. She got into her car. Her husband started beating on the window, and so she decided she would drive away. Now, she drove for about a mile under the influence of alcohol, turned the car off, and eventually obviously got arrested for drunk driving and got her license taken away. So I want to get your reaction to this already, because it sounds like it sounds pretty disastrous. So do you think that they should have taken away her license under the circumstances, or, I mean, what? Let's start with you, Sean.
The only thing that I'm technically qualified as a quote-unquote expert on is criminal justice issues, because that's what I study. But this is actually really basic. If this is actually literally the example that they give. If a woman is being attacked and she's drunk and she gets in a car and she drives her car and she crashes, they're supposed to let that go, because you're allowed to commit smaller crimes to avoid being the victim of a larger crime. So this is like open and shut to me. There's no way they should have suspended her license. Like, it's pretty simple. She was trying to not get hurt.
Well, first of all, from the details that I've seen, it seems like they should let her keep her license. I mean, granted, I have very limited details at this point, but just to play devil's advocate, like, him chasing her to her car, beating on the windshield, obviously that's very threatening. You know, you would want to escape that. But, I mean, it's not impossible that we could slide down that scale a little bit where he's not beating on the windshield, but he's screaming through the window at her. Or he chases her to the car, but he doesn't pursue her right up to it. Like, you can move it just slight degrees, like how much violence is necessary to justify what act. And I think that that's probably what swayed the jury in this case. Like, what if he hit her and then she ran out and he didn't chase her? Well, he was violent towards her. She wants to get away. Like, I think that there's a scenario you can construct where it wouldn't be reasonable for her to drive away, and just where you draw that line, I think that that's what the jury got hung up on.
Right, and it would make sense to actually draw the line at basically a certain point of where her life was in danger, or how she felt her life was in danger. And see, that's where it might get a little murky, but in this case, I think it's fundamentally clear that she felt that her life was in danger, and she had Minnesota actually has a law that says you have a duty to retreat, right? And I believe that she was doing her duty to retreat, and therefore I think that we should let her go.
It would potentially be a different thing if she'd actually hit someone while driving or something like that, or if she'd used the car as a weapon against him. I am glad to know that there's at least one state in America where you do still have a duty to retreat. That's a nice change of pace for us. But yeah, like I said, in this case, I think that it should have been fine what she did. But there could be other cases where, I mean, you can't just do anything. Like we did, if you recall one other similar case. I forget what state it was in, but there was the couple that was surrounded by the pack of motorcycle drivers.
New York State.
And they started smashing the windows, and the guy drove through a couple of motorcycles. Well, he was doing a very similar thing, and I think that he did get off based on that. But what if he had hit other cars too, people who weren't involved in it? Like, these can become incredibly complex situations.
I think this is one of those cases, though, where you end up in a situation where reality just doesn't play in terms of the law. And what I mean by that is there's certain things in life where you just have to be like, really, this is a 1 in a million thing that happened here, kind of like. The domestic violence obviously isn't, but the situation she was in. And what swayed me when reading the article was two things. One, he actually smashed the windshield. It actually cracked. So I mean, he's not, it's not just like a I'm walking here kind of thing. It's a it's a serious aggression. The second thing is they're in the it's a rural place that they're in. She only drives about a mile.
That's her driveway at that point.
Right, exactly. So I mean, at that's where it's less than a mile, they actually said too. So I mean, that's where for me, there wasn't a very high probability she was going to hurt somebody. She was in a situation where she had to get away. She didn't hurt anyone, also. And so I think that what's unfortunate about this case is I think if we really looked at it, it's too bad that somebody who was on the scene didn't kind of, process that differently and sort of, because once it goes through, it's harder, it's hard for the judge to go, okay, well, now this is the law. And Sean, I know what you're saying, it's kind of open and shut, but it does take that, as John said, it is sort of, where do you draw the line? And it's too bad, in my opinion, that at the beginning of the whole thing, it wasn't sort of she wasn't let off immediately as like, okay, this was a serious situation and you don't have to go to prison, or you don't have to go to...
It's literally the textbook example. Like, that is the example that they give. Woman being attacked by a man, she's drunk, but she gets in a car and drives away. So, like, to me, it's really basic. And to play devil's advocate, like you said, it was only a mile away. Most accidents happen within, like, a couple blocks of your house. So, like, she could have hurt somebody within a mile, but she didn't. This is really more how we are about drunk driving. Like, we went over the top on it because it used to be, like, popular. Like, it used to be, like, no big deal drunk driving, so we went over the top on it. So, like, the jury hears, oh, she was drunk. But, like, her windshield was smashed, this guy was chasing her, she feared for her life. But they're like, yeah, but alcohol, car equals bad. So, like, to me, this is more, the jury is just wrong, and, like, they need to see, like, things in not the dumbest possible way, which is drunk, car equal bad. Like, there's situations, there's things that are worse than drunk driving, and being attacked is probably worse.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's gonna disagree.
No, I think that's an excellent point. And it's funny, like, the jury's getting hung up on the necessary defense, right? The drunk driving law versus the necessary defense law, and saying that, look, it's the least bad option. It literally says it is the least bad option for a woman who is genuinely feared for her life. And so, like Sean said, this should totally be an open and shut case. And here's the other effect of this that nobody's brought up yet, is that she's still, she's with this guy, right? Yeah. And you take away her license. How is she supposed to get around now? And how is she supposed to do things? How is she supposed to get around to work if she has a job? And how is she supposed to get out of a similar situation? So you're just hurting her more being in that situation in the first place.
Well, it says in one of the articles that I read that she eventually reconciled with him, that they've both given up alcohol and gotten back together. She's free to make that decision, but I think that we could solve a couple of her problems by kickstarting, a new apartment in the city for her, where she won't need the car and she'll be away from that guy who could potentially threaten her in the future.
Or putting that guy in jail, because that's not what you should do.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that guy's a dude.
Yeah. The other thing, though, that to keep in mind with this case is, if we attacked it from the one side, but let's play it on the flip side just for devil's advocate. They kind of have to prove that we have to do this, otherwise other people might get away with it. And I just don't see how this case is the slippery slope to a ton of excuses in court of, like, this is why I was drunk driving. And so that's where it really didn't pass, the muster for me, because there was just no other side to this in terms of, well, if we let her get away with it, what?
Well, then everybody else is obviously going to try and get away with it.
Everyone else will claim domestic violence. Like, that's ridiculous.
To be fair, like, when I'm out drinking and I don't want to take a bus, because nobody likes to take the bus, I usually pick a fight with the biggest guy in the bar and then run into my car and drive away. Like, so it does happen. At least.
No, dude, bro, punch me in the stomach. I got to drive home.
I got it. You said that. Now that's going to happen. I just want we will all see that come across our desks in the next 2 months.
And then again, that's because we're here in America. If you were in Canada, it'd be okay to take a bus.
Don't drink and bro is all we're saying.
Oh no, I got like the best mass transit system out there, like here. So, like, I'm just being a jerk. But yeah, like, don't drink and drive, and don't pick bar fights. It's not fun.
Remember, like Megan and Kelly, remember, kids. It's all about the kids. Don't do that, kids.
Right.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Please leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and share with your friends. If you want to see more, go to our channel at youtube.com/TYTNation. And if you really want to support the show, support this channel, go to our fundraising campaign at www.patreon.com/TYTNation. The website is in the description below. Thank you guys, and keep watching.